Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Private Investigator Advice podcast. And this episode is going to be 6 reasons veterans make good private investigators. But before we get into that episode, oh, by the way, it's going to be episode 76. Veterans Day is Saturday, 2017. And just real quick, I thought I had talked about this before, and I realized that I hadn't talked about veterans on this podcast very much. I mean, I think probably sprinkled it through, but it's Veterans Day on Saturday. I figured, let me talk about an article that I wrote a while back. And so that's what I'm going to do. This episode is brought to you by Private Investigator Advice. Private Investigator Advice just began selling a surveillance report template for private investigators or aspiring private investigators or new business owners who maybe have never gotten their hands on a real actual surveillance report. Maybe they don't know what's in it. So not only are you going to get the template itself, you're going to go ahead and get an example report so you can kind of get an idea of what you should be putting in there. And just to further make sure that you have an idea of what belongs in that report if you're new to this, or even if you're an existing, investigator, you just kind of maybe want to get an idea from another investigator. I've also made a little walkthrough video for you to kind of go through each section, what's going to go where, and how just to make sure you can put your pictures in there and things like that of your surveillance. So you're going to get those things. Actually, as I'm making this podcast, I've also added in the intake request form for any private investigator work. It's basically a template to make sure you're getting all the information you need to get from your client to have a successful investigation or surveillance. I'm just going to go ahead. I don't know how long it's going to be in there, but as I'm making this podcast, I'm going to leave it in there for a little bit. It's going to be like a little bonus item. I'm selling that for $5 through Gumroad, but I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. So if you decide to buy the report template, it's a little bonus in there for a while. I can't guarantee it'll be in there forever, but for now it's going to be in there. The extra bonus. Okay, so that's it. That was my little thing there. Let's get into the podcast. Okay, so just to kind of give you, I don't know if I've talked to you guys about this, and as time passes, I kind of forget what I've talked about, what I haven't talked about. But just real quick, back in 1998. You probably heard that story of how my parents or my dad was like, "Hey, get a real job," blah blah blah, and so I ended up joining the Army. So I was in the Army from 1998 to 2002. I was in the Army during 9/11. I got out of the Army about 6 months later after 9/11 because my time was done there. And when I was there, I met a lot of interesting people, and I made a lot of great friends. And I did my basic training in Fort Benning, Georgia, which I think we were the actual first class that wasn't infantry that did their basic there. And then they did a bunch of other classes as well. But we were the first, was my understanding. And then I did my advanced training at Fort Gordon, Georgia. So the bus ride just from Benning to Georgia. And then I spent basically the rest of that time, my time in the military at Fort Hood, 4th Infantry Division, 124th Signal Battalion. Sadly, I guess they closed it down. Word on the street is 124 Signal doesn't exist anymore. But anyways, I digress. While I was in the Army, kind of learned how to be adult, a man, a better person, a harder worker, and definitely a more well-rounded employee. And so, like I said, I made a lot of good friends there, and those friends that were really close and we're still in touch. A couple of them became police officers. One of them's a helicopter mechanic. Another one's an engineer, really, really smart guy. Anyways, everybody that I was kind of really close to all kind of came out with with some good occupations. Very, police officers. How much better can you get than that? Engineers, a guy working on a helicopter. That's awesome. I mean, that's not what I'm interested in, but I think that's awesome. So everybody really landed on their feet, and I was really happy about that. And to this day, I still have some friends that I was in with that are still in. They're actually coming up on retirement. They're going to be retiring from the military soon. So we plan on hopefully getting all together in a year or two here when they retire and, kind of reuniting again. And I'm just kind of going down memory lane with you here, but I just trying to show you like well, I don't know. I know a lot of military guys this way. It means a lot to them, a lot for a lot of military guys. You meet a lot of good people, a lot of not so good people, but for the most part good. But anyways, the guys that I kind of hung around, they all carry these really good traits, and I always the people I've gravitated to were kind of like-minded with me, and they were just good guys. So I think some of these traits of the military, when the people come out, or the things they learned in there, are instrumental to this industry, private investigations. And so I'm going to kind of go over the bridge now and kind of talk about that part of it. So one of the first things that I think a veteran, one of the characteristics or traits is they're very flexible. And just to kind of show you, like, the military is very unpredictable. And I'm not even talking about like combat situations. I'm just saying like the everyday you're going to work, it's very unpredictable. You plan to do something with your team one day, at one moment, and then everything changes, and then everything changes again, and then everything changes again. And so it'll drive you crazy, but you're constantly adapting to the different situations to get through the day. That's what you're trying to do, and you're trying to get the job done. You're trying to complete objectives. And so it's tough. And so even when you're doing all these different things, sometimes your day is longer, kind of like a private investigator. You start thinking you're going to work a certain amount of hours that day, and the next thing you're into a 12-hour day. And so it was hard. It was hard on families, and they had to deal with not seeing their soldier a lot because we go into the field and things like that. But I guess the main thing is that we had an unpredictable schedule in the military, and investigators, they have unpredictable schedules too. You really don't know how long they're gonna go. I mean, sometimes you have an idea, but things change, and especially in the surveillance world, you can think that it's going to be an 8-hour day, and then it turns in, like I said, a 12-hour day. So flexibility, soldiers have it. The next reason or trait I think that people come out of the military with is patience. So much patience, so much patience. So if you didn't have it when you got into the Army, you probably had it when you got out. Everything in the Army, and it was very frustrating for me when I first started. Everything's like, all right, we gotta go, we gotta hurry up and wait, because you hurry up and do this, whatever the task is. Like you're preparing for something, and then you do it, and then you sit and wait, and then you don't do anything. Maybe for hours, you hurry up and wait. And so the private investigators are kind of the same way. It's a big waiting game. You have to, especially again, I relate a lot of this to surveillance because it can be a lonely job. But it requires patience. It requires you sitting there patiently waiting for the activity to happen, and not pushing it, not rushing it. And that is why I think that investigators, or rather veterans, would make good investigators, because they learn patience in the military by crazy patience. Anyways, the next one is stamina. And how does stamina? I mean, gosh, military people. And again, this goes into the long days, but I mean, every morning we would do PT, physical training. We'd run a couple miles, and then we, go back to the barracks real quick, have breakfast, take showers, boom, hit work, and again we'd be long days. And again, that again goes back to an investigator. I know for me, even if when it wasn't doing surveillance, I might drive to a case for 2 hours. Then I would interview like three different people, and those interviews, I don't even know how long each one was going to last, but let's just say they go hour to 2 hours each. And then whatever. Oh, I found another witness. Okay, well I need to interview them now, so maybe that's another hour. And then I come home in rush hour traffic, and now it's a 3 hour drive home. And it's exhausting because then you still got to go home, and maybe you have to write some kind of note up for the client for the following day so they know what you did, or maybe you have to write a report and have that prepared. And it's just, it really wears a person down. But I think that in the military, the same kind of thing happens. So it prepares you. It prepares you in a sense for that kind of stuff. I mean, it's different, but you know how to kind of get through a day and make it happen. Another characteristic of a veteran is loyalty. Obviously, loyalty to their country, loyalty to their families, and the people that they work side by side with every day. Veterans, when they were in the military. When you build those relationships in the Army, you go above and beyond for the guys you work with. For me, in my situation, I was in the barracks, and so we did everything together. We had breakfast together. We worked together. Some of my buddies ended up being my bosses at different times. They made sergeant, and I wasn't sergeant. And then we'd, have dinner, and then we'd go work out, and then on the weekends we go party, in Austin, and go dancing, and there's nothing closer to that, right? But we had this loyalty to each other. We would protect each other. And we still, to this day, talk to each other. We're still loyal to each other. We can see each other. I can see my buddy I haven't seen in a couple of years tomorrow, and we pick up just right where we left off, joking and whatever, And like loyalty, having a private investigator employee that's loyal to a company. Obviously, a company's got to still be loyal to them too, or they might get a little discouraged. But private investigators, I've noticed that we stay at least. Then I'm thinking about it here, sitting here talking about it. Some of the companies that I stayed with, maybe I stayed with them too long because I'm kind of overly loyal. But I've noticed that we stick around a little bit longer. We don't job jump too often. At least that's some of the people that I've been around. And I mean, I can think of two of my buddies that right out of the military that became police officers. They're still police officers. Another one who was in telecommunications and then wanted to be an engineer, and he's still an engineer. He's been with the same company for a very long time. We just don't. I mean, that's just kind of the thing I've seen. I know that doesn't apply to everybody. That's just kind of, maybe that's my story. Maybe that's my people that I surrounded myself with. But, quality investigators are hard to come by. And if they're loyal to a company, that's an asset for any investigation company if they can pick one up. Because if you treat them right, they will stay. They really will. A loyalty also in the sense of, I can't tell you how many times, well, at least myself, where I've been asked to do something last minute or to work on a holiday and miss something with my family, to be loyal to the company that I worked for. I've talked about it before, and it's happened a lot over the years. I don't let it happen anymore because I'm a little more protective of my family, and I know that there's probably some younger guy who doesn't have those responsibilities that can go do that kind of stuff nowadays when I'm working for companies. So anyways, that's that. Trainability. If you're going to be a private investigator in this industry, you have to be trainable. If you're just jumping into the industry, you have to listen and absorb and learn from other people, because that's the only way you're going to grow. It's the only way you're going to learn this industry. Really, you can't come in with that know-it-all attitude. And I think that military people, we're always learning something new when we're there. we're training each other. We're learning new things. And I just know that you got to be trainable, and most veterans are, because they all have to get trained to do their job, and sometimes do other people's jobs. Anyways, in one way or another, a soldier's always learning something, and I think they take that with them when they leave. Let's see here. The last one I got for you guys, it's adaptability. Veterans, when they're in the military, they're always adapting to different situations, and that comes it's a blanket statement, but it's sometimes it's adapting to a bad boss, or it's adapting to the work environment, or different situations at work. And there's a lot of them, because sometimes in the military there's bosses that are in charge of a lot of people that really have no business being bosses. And I don't know how they get there. Anyways, but just generally speaking, you have to adapt if you want to make it in the military. And I like I said, I wasn't in combat or anything like that, but you can imagine that what those guys have to go through and adapt to whatever their environment is when they're overseas. Or in the Middle East or anything like that. It's tough on them, but they have to figure it out. And just like a surveillance investigator would have to do, we have to adapt to different environments every day. Every day we go out, we have to, and it's a new area. We have to try to figure things out very quickly of how to adapt to this area. Is this the kind of neighborhood that's going to call on me, or is this the kind of neighborhood I can sit in and get a view of the residents I need to, do a surveillance on? Or for me, a lot of the times it was doing interviews. I have to meet a new personality every day. I have to interview them, and how are they going to respond to me? Are they going to give me a hard time? Are they going to be, real friendly? Are they going to be deceptive? And so I've had to adapt to those kind of situations, which it's fascinating over the years, talking to different people and kind of learning different things about personalities that kind of one guy might act a certain way, and I might see that same kind of personality in another person when they're deceptive. And anyways, you adapt to those situations, and you get the job done. And again, anyways, not everybody that comes out of the military has all these attributes. Not everybody. And I think I was fortunate, because I do know that there were people I worked with that didn't have that. But like I said, I did have some good people around me. I was very fortunate, and to this day we still keep in touch. And so what I'm going to do here is in this corner here, I'm going to put a picture right now. And that picture is going to show what I look like it was probably around 2001, 2002, and these are my buddies here. And then right now, I'm going to show you a little reunion picture, and this picture was taken in the same spot. We all met up again about 4 years ago, right before my buddy got married. There you go. And by the way, you have to watch the video to see this. Anyways, here we are now. I'm about 100 pounds heavier in this picture, unfortunately. Anyways, these are the same, a lot of the same guys that were in that first picture. And really, there's a camaraderie. I'm just going to pause for a second. There's a camaraderie in the military. And if you're lucky enough to find guys like I just showed pictures of, and to kind of go through things with them and bond with this group of individuals like I was able to do, it's a really fascinating thing. And you'll have it for life. You'll have it for life. I've been out of the Army since 2002. I'm still talking to these guys 15 years later. It's been 15 years since I've been out in the military. It's gone by very quickly. But you learn a lot of things. And, I know I've talked about in the past, about, hey, I maybe have recommended going to college after high school. And I still think that's a thing because, but the only thing I ever worry about for for young people coming out of high school is that debt that comes with that college degree that doesn't always guarantee you anything. But what you can take, if you do get out of the high school and you don't know what you wanted to do, it's kind of where I was at. You might want to look into the military because there's a lot you can get out of it. Now, I mean, education, free education, money, travel. You get to meet new people, go to places you probably never been. You might never, thought to go to, and you get to work in different environments. And I would recommend looking into that. I would. It's just it's an honorable occupation, even if you just put 4 years in. It really is. And anyway, so I'm going to wrap this up, guys. I'm kind of dragging on here. I did want to put a plug in for the military and before I closed here, but guys, if I don't talk to you before Saturday, you're a veteran. Thank you guys for serving. If you're still serving, if you're still there now, thank you. I'm so pro military, so pro Army. I mean, I get upset when anybody disrespects, and there's been a lot of that kind of stuff in the news, or at least that perception of it. And so, anyways, I'm proud of you guys. Keep doing what you're doing. Work hard. Spend time with your families. If you're in the military, if you're not in the military, spend time with your families, because that's the bigger picture in life. Work isn't everything. I mean, it pays the bills, of course. Do that, but I mean, just don't forget about putting that time with your family. So, anyways, I'm going to go on to some other rant if I don't wrap this up. Again, this has been the Private Investigator Advice podcast. This was episode 76. Happy Veterans Day to you guys, and I will see you guys on the next one. Be sure to check out the template. All right, thanks. Bye-bye.